Hey guys, Bill Hebson here with my buddy Bones from WorkoutAmerica.tv, and today I'm going to show you guys the essential pivot, which is a technique I use to teach my clients with back pain proper rotational mechanics. Now, rotational exercises are one of the very best ways to strengthen the core and relieve lower back pain. Unfortunately, I see way too many people performing rotary exercises improperly and doing their lower back probably more harm than good. So today we're going to learn proper rotational mechanics using the essential pivot, and I'm going to demonstrate some great rotary exercises for you for the core that will help relieve lower back pain. So let's talk for a minute about back mechanics. Your back is a series of joints or motion segments, vertebrae, stacked one on top of the other. Rotation happens up here in the thoracic spine. The lower back is not designed to rotate. It flexes and extends. So you have these little wings or transverse processes out on the side of every vertebrae, where the one on top, where the transverse process meets the one below it, forms a facet joint. In the thoracic spine, these facet joints are aligned or oriented horizontally so that they glide like this. That's where rotation happens. As we get down into the lumbar spine, the facet joints are oriented vertically. So they flex and extend, but you get into problems with excessive rotation where we transfer rotational torque into the lower back where the skeletal anatomy was not designed for that movement. So now, if we are doing rotational exercises with our feet planted forward, we need to stay within about 45 degrees of midline of the body to protect the lower back. In real life, and certainly athletics, we need to produce a much greater range of motion in rotation. The way we do this is by merely lifting the trailing heel, and we pivot on the ball of the foot, and this allows the hips to move as a unit with the shoulders, maintaining lumbar integrity and protecting that lower back. And this is the essential pivot. We need to rehearse and train this movement so that it is scribed into our neural pathways and ingrained to the point it becomes second nature. So if you look at any hitter work, and it doesn't make any difference whether we're talking about throwing a punch, hitting a baseball, hitting a tennis ball, or hitting a golf ball, every effective hitter utilizes this technique, these what I call the essential pivot. We lift the trailing heel, we pivot off the ball of the foot, drive the hips through the movement, and the ankle, knee, hips, and shoulders are all aligned in the direction of the strike, keeping the lower back in neutral. So not only can you generate more rotational torque this way if you're an athlete, but for those of you with lower back issues, this is exactly the movement you need to train to strengthen the core properly, to stabilize the lower back and relieve lumbar pain. Now, the critical underlying musculature we train with rotation is the transverse abdominis. The transverse abdominis lays under the rectus abdominis, which is our six-pack muscles. And the rectus abdominis gets worked ad infinitum by the bodybuilding and physique crowd because of all the emphasis placed on it cosmetically. But I believe the transverse abdominis has far more value in lower back stabilization and pain relief. The transverse abdominis now goes around the abdomen just like a belt and has a connective relationship to the lower back via the lumbar aponeurosis. The lumbar aponeurosis is a wide tendinous sheath that goes around the lower back, again just like a belt, to provide stability and provide more attachment points to anchor all the anatomy that converges around the lower back and iliac crest. When the transverse abdominis contracts, it pulls in, which certainly is contradictory to all the physique BS about rotational exercise making your waist bigger. It pulls in and it draws the lumbar aponeurosis tight, providing great stabilization and integrity for the lower back. The transverse abdominis is critically important for balance and stabilization. We've discovered through MRI-placed electromyographic studies that before we produce any other movement in the human body, before we pick up a hand or a foot or whatever, the first muscle in the body that contracts before any other movement happens is the transverse abdominis. Martial artists knew this intuitively and described the area just below the navel as the hara, the center of balance. Gymnasts, dancers, all talk about focusing on the area below the navel to find their center or getting centered. What all these disciplines are instinctively talking about is the transverse abdominis. So I'm going to break down the essential pivot for you, and then we'll look at some exercise variations I use to train rotation. So before I load any movement with external resistance for my clients, I always have them rehearse and become proficient with body weight first. So we're going to take an athletic stance, feet a bit wider than shoulder width, and we're just going to bend the knees a little bit like we're riding a horse, and we're going to pivot from side to side. So think about a gyroscope or spinning a top. You want to keep the center of gravity, your center of balance, right between the hips. So again, our weight is centered between both feet and the hips. We're balanced off the ball of the foot and the forefoot. And the tendency is when we use resistance is to counterbalance and lean out. So we want to avoid that tendency and stay centered on all our rotation. Again, this should become second nature for us. So the tools I use to train rotation are the tubes, dumbbells, and medicine balls. And you can essentially do all the same exercises with the cables that you can do with the tubes. The tubes allow us a more elastic, live quality of resistance and allow us to work explosively and with more speed of movement. The cables allow us to do the same movements with greater resistance. So I normally work 3 angles of attack. Across the midline. Again, we've got that good pivot going. And then we work from high to low. It's almost like a throw in judo where you throw that hip. It's a common movement in any kind of a takedown. And then we work from low to high, which is with the cable here. And again, we pivot up into the movement. And again, we use rotation for almost all our lifting. If we're going to pick up the garbage or pick up the groceries or our kids, we always rotate. And as long as you turn that heel, so now we've got the ankle, knee, hip, and lower back all aligned, rotation becomes a very natural and safe movement. All of this stuff about lifting like this, nobody lifts like that. Watch your grandmother drop her keys. Where is it? Right here. We rotate down. So now, all of the exercises, again, that we've done on the cables, we've done with both hands. You can do these exercises unilaterally, which allows a lot more mobility. Again, we're asymmetrically loaded, so we get a lot more core involvement. And you can take it like a single arm punch, where again, we've got the essential pivot going. The torso rotates. This arm pushes. The other elbow pulls back. That is punching mechanics. We can rotate with it. And again, look at what's happening to the hips and core. This is a fabulous movement. Again, same thing. You can produce a variety of rotary movements. And again, the tubes are very accommodating resistance. Some of my other favorite movements are rotational cleans and snatches with a dumbbell. Again, we pivot into it, we're right between our center of gravity, and we rotate up. We dig and rotate, and again, we've got that essential pivot going to stabilize that. Again, if you look at a lot of rowers work or a lot of our lifting, very common mechanics. Now the medicine ball allows us a variety of drills. Wood chops, high to low. Again, with the rotation, we can work low to high, and we can also do these thrown. If you have a partner or a wall, we can scoop toss, where we actually release the ball, boom, it hits the wall, we rebound, catch the other side and rotate, and again, each time we use that essential pivot. Another great drill is rotational slams, where we pivot and hit and pivot and hit, and we can work side to side with that. No partner necessary, no wall necessary. So that is the essential pivot. Wonderful mechanism to do your rotational exercises to train the core and lower back, relieve lower back pain, and really stabilize that lumbar area. So I'm Bill Hebson. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, tell your friends about it, and check out workoutamerica.tv. So stay strong. I'll see you guys next time.